Hi and welcome back to MDriven. Since I anticipate that I will get a lot of questions regarding the placing containers and the different settings, I will do a quick once through for the ones that I find particularly hard to explain and understand. So in this example I have a single column going from top to down with the 10 attributes in them. I've set this column to wrap. If it wasn't wrap, it would go like this to and show the attributes this way. Of course, if we start from top, justify content, that this one will simply do start or end, start, end, center, space between, and space around. So and if I do reverse, the arrow goes from bottom to up and all the fields go in the other directions to 1 to 10, and then start actually means end, and they are in the other order, so to speak. And the interesting thing, most complex thing I think personally, is this align content. This one is only active when we wrap. So I'm going to turn on wrap and reducing the height. So this is aligned to start currently, and we're doing something that forces it to wrap. So the items goes through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 over 4 separate wrapped rows, so to speak. Now the align content is actually considered. So if this is changed to end, the other direction from the primary direction, the secondary direction. So each placing container has a primary direction, which is in this case column down, and if it was column reverse, up, and if it was row, it would be right, and row reverse, left. So that's the primary direction. Let's go back to column non-reversed. The secondary direction is the direction which isn't the primary direction, the one 90 degrees to the primary direction. So the align content will only have effect when there are multiple lines in the secondary direction. So this means that if the justify content switches to end in this case, that actually moves these in the primary direction. So I can have this space between, and that's the primary direction. But since this has been wrapped, the align content is in effect, and if I say start, all the secondary direction lines will move according to the align content property. So center and space between. So space between will, if I have space between on both of these, let's see what happens as the height increases. So the number of secondary direction columns reduces. So and now it's sort of important to have this since it is allowed to wrap. Let's see if we remove wrap from this, and if we use this space between, nothing happens. So this has really no effect unless we are in wrapping mode. And if we weren't in wrapping mode, as we reduce the height, you see this is going off screen. So this is where you normally would like a scroll bar maybe. So what should happen here is probably that the generated UI should allow for a scroll bar. Let's see what happens on. As this goes down, yeah, I get the scroll bar. So we need to work on this to only have one scroll bar, but this is the one that was available since this was checked. If I resave that without it, that scroll bar, the inner scroll bar, disappeared. We still have the outer scroll bar. I'm not sure, but this will probably be only one of them that survives. So this doesn't scroll, so it will continue like this. And just putting this row, and I can't get this row to sort of fill its space even if I set this row's self-align to stretch. It will just stretch within this column's widest item. So how can I get this one to stretch? Well, it has to do with this being a wrap column. So then the align content comes into play, and I need to set this to stretch, because if that is stretch, this one will stretch as well. So this arrow becomes long, and if that becomes long, then the widest content in this column is this wide. So in that case, having the stretch on the single items will give me this effect. So it's can be tricky to know how to use the placing columns, but I'm fairly confident that most of the things that you want to achieve with flexboxes in a normal HTML UI can be done with our definition of the flexboxes as we see them here. And we will give this a shot and help each other out to find ways to get what we want to have on the UI in the end. Thank you for listening.